All right. Good morning.
Morning, everyone. I just barely got my newsletter out. So my people probably forgot all about this, especially since we don't do this every week. So, but anyway, maybe we should just wait till we actually have somebody attending. Although we do. Yay, Kevin's there. Hey, Kevin.
Well, I'm going to add it to my Facebook here in a minute.
Right, and Dale's live streaming it to our Facebook, Wondrous Roots Facebook. So I'm going to open that up as we're getting going here, just so that I can monitor any kind of communication from there. So give me a second to do that. We're going to be talking about Allison will be joining us very shortly, and we're going to be talking about healthy weight loss strategies. People are always looking for that, and there's many different things we can talk about regarding that. So let me just see if I can find this live streaming on my page. It might actually be on here. Those are some, that was the last one I see there. I don't see anything live on my page yet, and Dale will inform me.
All right, I got it going on mine. So
okay.
bear with us as we work through the technical difficulties.
I'm going to actually go to your page too, Jean, so that I can, your Jean Clarkin page. No, it's your
no,
natural health. Yeah.
Yep. So
okay.
Yeah, weight loss, no matter what, this is a 27 years, no matter what else people have going on, autoimmune diseases, this, that, the other, weight loss is always at the top of the rung of concerns. I mean, that's just the reality of it. And what else going on? Is that?
Yeah. Now I just kind of lost my volume with you. I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep. Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, cool. Then everybody else should be able to too.
Yeah. So there's certainly health and wellness related aspects to weight, but there's also, how do we feel about ourselves and our confidence and that kind of thing as well. So definitely I think a topic that a lot of people have some interest in.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it's really good. Again, I like the way we do our roundtable here. We don't have Matt and Tisa Abatali today. Doctors Matt and Tisa they're at some sort of an event, professional event today. So we wish them well. So it's going to be the three of us when Allison gets on here. And we all have different things, different strategies we know about. And I love getting just the different perspectives. So I totally agree. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think, when it comes to weight, it's a multi-dimensional thing. It's not just one thing. You have to really look at the big picture. And so there's, in that vein, there's lots of ways that you could approach that as well.
Yes, for sure. I guess the first thing comes to people's minds is diet. What is the proper diet? We know there've been a bazillion different methods to losing weight and different diets, from the low carb, low sugar, to the South Beach, which is kind of that way. Atkins, that's kind of that way. Some people are actually more calorie in, calorie out oriented. There's Weight Watchers philosophy, that kind of thing, with your different points and things like that.
Yeah,
so
I tell you what, when it comes to Weight Watchers and those types of calorie restriction things, they work, but they don't tend to work long term.
Right.
A majority of the people that try that land up not only where they were, but I think it's like 76% of them, 98% of them gain the weight back, and 76% of those gain more weight as well. So I think, there's a psychological aspect to that too. Like we're just going to take something away, we're going to diet, we're going to go on a diet until I reach a certain goal. Then I'm going to go back to the way I was before.
Yeah.
So if you always feel like it's a loss, whenever you're taking a loss, taking something away that maybe brings you joy, and that's your strategy, it's probably not going to be a great long-term strategy.
Yeah.
Because you'll always go back to it.
Right. Very well said. Because, and then, a lot of times when people do the really, the low carb and all of that, and then start putting the carbs back in, it tends to have, many times it tends to have a double whammy effect. You tend to respond to those carbs in a heightened way than
right. Yeah. A lot of times you don't think about that. The
I
more times
think,
you
yeah.
go the diet, the worse it is for your body.
Yeah. And I also think that's why I favor something like, I tell people, cut out the soda, the diet soda, cut out excess dessert, things like that, excess things that are not good foods. But don't say, I'm never going to have rice again. I'm never going to have pasta again. I'm just not going to do that, because that's not sustainable. That's what you're saying, Gene, is it's not sustainable. It's not fun. It's not even, it doesn't even represent what I like to look at all of the world cuisines throughout the generations, throughout time, all seem to have a balance of food groups. So, if you're looking at the Mediterranean diet, there's bread and there's pasta, right? Lots of fresh vegetables, a lot of good quality, oh, Allison said she didn't get her link. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
I think, part of diets is like, well, here's what's available, like it's going to be blubber, and whale, and or it's going to be these fish, or it's going to be whatever we have at our disposal. I think, there are clinical considerations with, things like, well, breads and whatever, aside from weight loss. But I know that quality matters, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. And now I'm dealing with a little technical snafu because Allison said she didn't get her link when I sent them out this morning. So let me just do that, make sure she gets that. I don't have a way to actually just up from this meeting, put her as a panelist. So webinars, just let me do that. And so
you just resend her the email.
I'm going to do it now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. So, again, when it comes to weight loss, there's a lot of different factors you want to really look at, I think. And just as an overall view, I think, certainly what goes in our mouth is a factor. The amount of activity we have, I think, being very sedentary doesn't help our cause, of course. Toxicity can be an issue. Stress absolutely can be an issue. And glandular, dysfunction, or, the lagging of your endocrine system, which I think, and I got, in my experience, most people have a little bit of all of those things going on.
Yeah. So we're thinking about the thyroid. Also, let's think about the liver. You mentioned toxicity. So the first important thing in weight loss is the liver being clean. And, so there's a lot, whether it be medications, whether it be, hi, Allison, sorry about that. Whether it be medications, whether it be alcohol, whether it be the fact that you're getting toxins in your food supply, the glyphosate or whatever, the liver is really the front line. I remember Anne Louise Gittleman wrote a book called, oh gosh, it was Fat. I don't remember I can't remember what it was, but anyway, it was, it was a very famous book, and she did that years ago. She's now done another whole book called Radical Metabolism, which I think is really excellent. I would recommend to people to check out that book, Radical Metabolism. She starts with the liver. She talks about healthy fats. She talks about hormones and all of that kind of thing. She's got, if you're looking for, some people just like, I want somebody to tell me what to do. I want to follow a program. I think it might be probably be my top book recommendation right now on this topic. And I like it because she looks at everything, like Dr. Jean was talking about. the endocrine system, the diet and things, but I think also in a way that is sustainable to live, to see a good result quickly, but then to be in a type of diet that is pleasant to you and that you can sustain for a long time, those principles. Hi, Allison.
Hi.
Welcome. Sorry, I didn't get that. You know what happened? I sent out the invites and then I didn't hit the save button. I didn't have it down strong enough long enough on my screen. So
no worries.
Anyway, you're here. How are you?
I'm great. How are you guys? I'm excited about this topic. I'm excited to pick your brains about it.
Yeah. Well, as we start talking about it, I have a million different ways to go. I'm like, oh my God, we need about 4 hours for this conversation.
Well,
Absolutely.
when people, they come for weight loss or they want to know if you can help with weight loss, there's so many pieces to that puzzle. You can look at what's going on. Is it an emotional eating thing? Is it a sugar craving addiction? Is it, in Chinese medicine, just a deficiency with the kidney yang, which is like the fire under the cauldron. So it's like the circulation's down, the libido's down, the metabolism's down. Is it like they need more energy? The thyroid component, there's just so much to it.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, so there's the biochemical component, and then there's the, as you mentioned, sort of the emotional component.
Yeah.
How that's tied to, identity and all this kind of stuff that makes it a challenge because you have to really marry those two things.
Yeah.
Where do you guys start? If someone say they were to come in, because Dr. Jean, you work a lot with people for weight loss, right?
Again, it's every, no matter what anybody else has going on, they're always, I can't remember the last time I saw an intake form that didn't have that as one of the goals. Yeah. Everybody wants to drop some pounds, right? Yeah, so it's definitely very common. But, as Rebecca started to say, it really starts with, going, I don't know, I like to fix the pond instead of trying to fix the fish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the system, typically, the average person is going to be like, 45-year-old to 65-year-old female comes in and the hormones start to go a little crazy. They're kind of toxic. They haven't been eating that well. All these things are compounding. So we need to kind of identify if there's any, underlying stressors, toxicities, like maybe their mercury amalgam fillings are, flooding their thyroid receptors with mercury. And, so that piece has to be handled, I think, for success. And then get that digestive system reset, make sure you're producing enough stomach acid, make sure you're absorbing your nutrients. Certainly the lower gut with the microbiome and any kind of leaky gut and inflammation that may cause, which then affects all the other fish as well. And, the liver is part of that system, of course. And you're talking about not only buildup of toxicity in the rest of the cells and a slowing and a sludging of the metabolism, but the hormone conversions, T4 to T3, 60% of that happens in the liver. If the liver is bogged down, it's not going to be doing that. So there's just so many blocks along the way. So you just have to look at it like, well, let's just cover all our bases. Let's go from top to bottom and really make sure the body's functioning as good as possible. You don't really have to look at it as disease. Let's just say, well, this is an opportunity for us to go through and refurbish the system.
And your adrenals too can play a big part as well.
Totally.
It's literally every single system.
Yeah.
Involved.
Stress.
Yeah, exactly. If your neurotransmitters, if you're not making enough serotonin, your body's going to your brain is going to prompt you to eat things that raise your blood sugar quickly, because it's looking for tryptophan from protein foods. But the protein foods that have tryptophan have a few competing amino acids. And so it's a race to get across the blood-brain barrier. And your brain is smart enough as to prompt a self-medication with candy and chips and whatever you can get to raise your blood sugar quickly so that those competing amino acids are diminished and the tryptophan wins. So, I use 5-HTP with people to raise tryptophan levels without having that competitive thing. And one of the things that does is it cuts craving because you're no longer needing to self-medicate. And so a lot of people don't realize, they just think I'm just so undisciplined. Why is it, after supper, I feel like I have to, eat, and now I got to eat all night long. I got to snack. I got to go get that bag of Oreos or whatever. And they don't realize that sometimes that happens with alcohol. Alcohol will temporarily raise serotonin. So people don't realize sometimes the things they think I'm just undisciplined, don't realize they're getting strong signals trying to get you to do those things. Because if you go without serotonin for too long, it's not good for your brain. It's not good for you. It's not good for your overall health. It's very important.
And
and there's also, you can have bugs, like funguses and parasites that will get you to want to feed them. They can actually control you. It's really weird. But they have cravings, and they force you to have cravings too. So you're feeding the fire.
That's so freaky.
Yeah, I know.
I hate thinking about that. But 90% of serotonin's made in the gut. So looking at the health of the gut, and do you have a sufficient microbiome in there, or is it being compromised by glyphosate and other toxins in the environment? That's
again, it's a multifaceted assault on your body and things that you got to deal with and pay attention to. So I guess the big theme here would be like, there's not this one pill that's going to save you.
Yeah.
A diet pill or something like that. And those things can be really harmful too.
Yeah, I would like to comment on that, because we make a formula, an herbal formula called Metabolism Up, and it has a lot of herbs that help with that. We can do other things. We can do like a combination of green tea and conjugated linoleic acid and L-carnitine as a fat buster and burner. There are raspberry ketones. There's a lot of different things that we can use. I never tend to even have like bioenergy disc that is for weight loss and leptin control and things like that. I don't tend to really capitalize on that when I'm working with people, because sometimes, I don't know, I think if you don't address your whole lifestyle, those things they might help. If you're going to address your whole lifestyle, they might be helpful. But I don't think it's like.
It's like there's a philosophical slant here to this, is that, in the field of Western medicine, typically it's about going after the symptoms and treating symptoms, right? And they do it with drugs, but some, you can also do it with other things, natural things and whatever. But I think there's a part of that, if you're always trying to suppress your symptoms, you're never really getting to the root causes of what the issues are, and then again, there can be emotional things like that are connected to eating, or you don't want to just cover up that symptom. It's not, if it becomes about that symptom and getting rid of the symptom, it tends to keep people from looking at the bigger picture of their health, and I think in the long run they actually lose out.
Yeah, I agree. There's this protocol. I think I learned it like briefly in school, and then I looked it up later in clinic when I had some, in the beginning when people were coming for weight loss. And you do the point on the ear, that's sort of the auricular branch of the vagus nerve, and then stomach 25, which is just a couple of finger widths out from the belly button on the stomach, bilaterally on both sides, and then you hook up electrical stimulation between the ear points and those points on the stomach, and it's supposed to like kick, right? It's like you can adjust the frequency and the intensity of it, but you feel a little buzz. But it's supposed to kickstart the metabolism, and the same thing. I don't feel like that's the root cause, and I got away from that pretty quickly, because when you're diagnosing, you realize, okay, I could maybe do this for you, maybe it'll help your metabolism, but we really need to address your spleen and kidney yang here. We really need to build up your chi, or get your adrenals back in check.
So Allison, I had a couple in last week, I don't know, I think it was this week or maybe last week, anyway, talking about what, we were brainstorming. She's like, what can I do just to kick up, losing this belly fat kind of thing. So we talked about all these things, the different supplements and things like that. And I was thinking I would really like to come up with formulating my own like raspberry ketone with green tea, decaffeinated extract, and L-carnitine. So I've got that in the back of my mind. I've also thought of making a belly jelly that's like got raspberry ketone and things that move. So I have, it's intriguing to talk about these things. But one thing I found when I was looking were these ear seeds, and it's exactly what you're talking about. You put them up here. And from what I understood and what I read about them, I thought about you and asking you about this, is that they basically work, it sounded from what the literature said, and you never know how they actually work, but that it's supposed to be an appetite suppressant. So
yeah, there's one famous point on the ear for cravings that you can do, but there's some different variations of weight loss protocols. Also smoking cessation protocols that kind of have that same craving point. But you would work on the adrenals, the spleen, you could do for the liver, or you could do different organs for whatever they're specifically presenting with.
So is the theory here that it calms the system more so that you're less likely to be like hyped up and needing something? Is that how that?
Well, the ear is a very effective microsystem. So in Chinese medicine, we work with microsystems like in Korean acupuncture, they do points primarily on the hand. They map the entire body onto the hand. And you can do the same thing with your ear. So the ear is particularly effective because it's so close to the brain. And so if you do an acupuncture needle in, say, your leg, the signal has to go from your brain to your leg and then back up to your brain before your body kind of understands what it's asking it to do or connects the dots, literally. But your brain, it just goes right to that area. So you can treat the ear with needles, or you can use little BBs, or sometimes people use magnets or even intradermal press tacks. But you can treat the organ levels based on kind of where the organ's located in the body, or just the anatomically. If you have shoulder pain, you could do it for that. But it's basically working on the nervous system and activating that part of the brain that communicates with that area of the body.
Wow.
And so yeah, for example,
reflexology, that would be kind of a similar, they're trying to stimulate that same area.
Well, yeah, for the feet, you mean?
Or the ears, there's ear reflexology, there's foot reflexology,
okay.
hand reflexology.
Yeah, sure.
And
I think of feet when I think of reflexology. But yeah, just the stimulation is what's kind of activating it. And then just having a BB there in the first place is going to constantly activate it. And you can do gold to be more tonifying, or you can do silver. If there's a lot of pain somewhere, you might want to disperse the energy from there. And that's why you see problems with certain ear piercings, because they typically use stainless steel metal, and they can go through like the tragus here, that's your adrenal system. So you sometimes see a lot of problems after people get their tragus pierced. Yeah. The lung is pretty safe. This is the eye area, but it's not a whole lot there. But if you look at a little map, there's really high concentration of things, especially in important organs in this middle section there.
That's huge. What you just said, I think I would never have known that. I don't have any piercing there. I'm not like a pierced. I have like 3 piercings on my earlobe, but that's the only piercings I have at all. But wow. And what I want to ask you, Allison, is like, what do people look for if they want to use these you call them beads, or if they want to use those?
Or
BBs?
Yeah.
Seeds. That's what I saw, ear seeds.
Yeah, it depends what you want. They all work. I mean, you could hypothetically take a grain of rice. That's a very classical way to do it in China, and tape it to a Band-Aid. It's just all about the pressure.
Wow.
But yeah, you could use anything. It's just a little adhesive, and you just want to make sure yours like
duct tape
alcohol first. Right, yeah. Duct tape.
It works every time for everything.
Great marketing.
Don't need anything else. Yeah.
Make a little basic balance of duct tape and have people walk around with it. But I like the BBs. They stay on a little bit better. Different brands have different adhesives, but anything that you do will help. And you can do it, like if it's pain, you would massage it while you move that area of the body. That makes it work a little bit better. So say
Oh my
you were,
goodness.
after you ate, if you had a sugar craving afterwards, you could really work on them afterwards. And I think a big part of it, they're very effective just as is, but I think another big part of it, and the feedback that I get from a lot of people, is that it's just having that opportunity to set that intention, to kind of take a time out and remember, oh yeah, there's something that I have here that can actually help me do this.
Wow.
And kind of use
So,
that.
Now, Veronica says, my daughter has a piercing through her belly button, which is the central meridian. So what do you think about that, Allison?
Yeah, so belly button piercings, your belly button is really the center of everything. It's where you get the nourishment when you're a baby, when you assimilate everything. So belly button piercings, I do generally see a lot of digestive issues and anxiety too, because you have that very strong connection between the gut and the brain. And in Chinese medicine, that's the spleen and the heart organ systems. And it's that overthinking type of anxiety, like ruminating or worrying about things in the future or hypothetical things, just that kind of repetitious thinking, versus like more of a livery anxiety would be too many things to do, not enough time to do it, more overwhelmed type stuff. But you see that heart type anxiety and digestive issues like bloating, loose bowel movements. I always recommend people take out their belly button rings if I see them. Yeah. And
do you find,
muscle
Allison,
testing?
Yeah, go ahead.
When we're muscle testing, we test for, different stressors, heavy metals, chemicals, and things. And one of the things we test for is scars, because scars frequently interrupt the nerve system, especially when they're higher up on the earlobes, but even sometimes in the earlobe itself, right? Absolutely belly rings. I've seen spines make a huge, scoliosis from a belly ring. And they always interrupt the system in a major way. And I'm assuming because it's, right down in that middle area. C-section scars too, by the way, those ones that go across, you're interrupting that whole, it's a lot.
So for that, I would recommend serrapeptase. Get on your serrapeptase, one high potency capsule daily to dissolve scar tissue. Who knew? But Allison, so if the person has the belly button piercing and removes the jewelry, is that going to help, or is
it will?
Does help?
Yeah, your body does find the pathway around it. It's just that metal in there is dispersing the energy away from it. So if you remove it, your body can find it away. And if someone's very, very attached to it, there's just no way they're going to remove it. I recommend they replace it with gold, because it's more tonifying. At least you're not going to be dispersing the energy away from it. I had
a whole new topic. This is like a whole brand new topic. I like we could do a whole program on piercings, and who knew, you just think it's
but it can be, but the thing is, it can be anything, like the original topic was, weight loss. You can have something like a belly ring that interrupts your nerve system, that interrupts your hormonal system, that, is a contributor to that problem. And you try to do everything right, you eat right, you do this right, you do everything right, and you're just missing this one little thing, this belly ring.
Yeah.
Which is a big thing, but there's a lot you got to pay attention to. Right. So if you're out there, you've tried a lot of things, you're like, well, I've tried all this stuff. There's always something that maybe you missed, if you.
Another perspective. That's why it's helpful to have a team of people.
Yeah. Well, I want to say, when I first start working with somebody, in my questionnaire, I have, what is your typical breakfast? What is your typical lunch? What is your typical supper? What are your typical snacks and things? And a lot of times people don't realize that drinking diet soda or diet beverages or using Equal or things with aspartame or even Splenda, they think that they're helping themselves to not have so many calories and to lose weight. And we actually see those things backfire dramatically. I had a man years ago when I was first started practicing, and he had very high liver enzymes on blood testing. And he also had gained like so much weight, and he didn't know why. And he's like, I don't drink alcohol. I don't know why my liver enzymes are so high. And I found out he really pretty much ate a steady diet of Diet Coke. So he'd get a big one in the morning at McDonald's, he'd get a big one, you know, and he would just drink this stuff all day. And it was kind of interesting that I got to see him, because it's very rare that you get somebody who uses that much, right? So, but I mean, all he did was, he was like, his jaw dropped when I gave him evidence that this was probably his whole problem. And he stopped, and he lost weight like crazy, and his liver enzymes came back to normal. And he was very angry, really, kind of, that he didn't know that. And not at me, but that, you know, that he was kind of given the impression that, you know, this is what you're supposed to do if you want to lose weight.
Who was he angry with?
Maybe just with maybe not being on a warning label or something like that, or just that the propaganda and the advertising is so strong that you think you're making a good choice for your health when you're making an absolutely horrible choice for your health. And aspartame is what we know is an excitotoxin. So sometimes it takes people a lot of willpower to get off it, because it's the taste that kills. That's what excitotoxins are. And they're just, you want to have more. You just want to drink more of it.
There's a whole the industry of chemical food,
Yes.
that is about, how do you excite these taste buds and how do you create addictions? Really, it's a whole science, right?
Yeah.
People go to school for this.
And you don't have to advertise aspartame on the ingredient list. So
Right.
It can be in something and you would have no idea.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even know that. You don't have to advertise aspartame?
No.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
how would how would you look out for that? Like, well, anything that's like, oh, no sugar, but it's still sweet kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Splenda itself, Splenda is different. That's, oh gosh, what do we call that? That's, can't think of the technical name for it right now, but Splenda, people think is better, right? But Splenda was originally developed as a pesticide, and it doesn't raise blood sugar because the body doesn't recognize it as food. And we found that Splenda dries up the thymus gland, which is a big part of the immune system. That Splenda is very dangerous. So I tell people, if they really can't part with their soda, there's a brand out there called Zevia, which is sweetened with stevia. And it does it, and it tastes pretty darn good. If you like ginger ale or something like that, but
there's also, Rebecca, I want to, like a lot of people are down on stevia. There's a certain group of people like, oh no, stevia is bad too. Do you have any insights on that?
I don't see why it's bad. Oh, I know. I don't like the Truvia. So Truvia is a form of stevia, but it's got other, what do we call them? Alcohol sugars added to it, like erythritol, mannitol, things like that. So Truvia is not true stevia. And so in that regard, I say, if you're going to go with stevia, go with the stevia drops or the powder, but don't use Truvia. Truvia is a stevia blend. And I have to answer a question for a client, so I'll be right back.
Yeah, I think, there's also in any substance to consider it starts out as this leaf, and then now it's this little white powder. And how did we get from here to here?
Right.
What kind of processing was done, and how does that manipulate or change what the original structure, compounds in the leaf were versus what it is now as something else. And so I think, to me, I don't have, like I've read some different things. I don't have all the answers, but I think it's worth, being aware of it. I think, and when we muscle test, we do find some people have a little challenge with it, thinking of it as an herb, just like somebody might have a challenge with any other herb potentially. So I think it's
an example of a sweet potato. A sweet potato has a lot of sugar in it, but it's in the whole food form. You have the skin and you have the minerals and everything in that sweet potato, so that the sugar in there is digested slowly and in a healthy manner in your body. And it's extremely different than extracting that sugar out of the sweet potato and having a teaspoon of table sugar.
Right. Oh, this is sweet potato sugar. It's good.
Right.
Yeah. So, the other thing I was just thinking about when Becky was talking a little bit about, advertising and that kind of thing, is that it seems to be, I've seen some stuff where they're sort of saying, well, it's okay to be really large. And, from a standpoint where we don't want to shame anybody. And, I think that's a good thing, but it can also potentially put forth the image that, like, this is okay because, when you're like that, there's other health challenges that you're going to be contending with, right? So I think it's just an interesting thing. There's so much media and stuff going on that all this stuff is affecting how we look at things and how we judge where we are and what to do and what's the right way to go and all this stuff. And it could just muddle the waters, I guess, is the point I want to make.
Right. Yeah. There's an aspect of accepting yourself where you're at and accepting other people where they're at. And there's also an aspect of knowing that it's not a healthy place to be in, and not just throwing your, acceptance without any type of desire to change, I guess. Is really
It's almost like, well, everybody does McDonald's. So, that makes it okay. Or, we have to, I guess it's an individual thing, you just have to be real with yourself, like what is okay with you and what, sometimes people have things like autoimmune disease and they're like, well, I'm okay with this. Like, okay, well, awesome. That's good. It's nice to be in a peaceful place if that's where you are. I bet under the surface they're probably tormented, but
Yeah. No. Like I used to be like I used to work out every day, for an hour and a half, and I wouldn't miss. And if I traveled, I brought, something that if I either used the hotel gym or I did something, I just would never miss. I can't tell you the last time I exercised. I don't have any memory of it. And I could be more buff and stuff if I really cared, but I really don't care. So I have to just be careful that I don't not care enough to impact my health in a negative way, my overall health. But as far as, I'm very happy. I could lose a few pounds, but I don't care. Clothes work really well, to hide a few pounds. So, it just matters what your priorities are. I would much rather, take that time. I would be exercising and do some research on something scientific. That's just what turns me on, what I really like to do. So I think it is a matter of being comfortable, but not saying, hey, this could come back to bite you if you don't do something. Are
you saying you're a nerd?
I am.
Are you saying you're a nerd? You're the science nerd? That's awesome.
I am saying that.
A little note on exercise, by the way, just for anybody who's out there. There are times, when your glandular system is really beaten up, where over-exercising can actually make it worse for you because you're just calling on an already tired thyroid, you're calling on already burned out adrenals. You don't have the nutrition to support them. You're in stress response. All your, you got this pregnenolone steal, which is a base hormone. It's being diverted towards the stress hormones, and your whole glandular system is out, and just exercising yourself into the ground is not the answer. It can be worse for you, actually. Not that exercise and movement isn't good, but also, my thoughts on that, I think that anything you do begrudgingly is probably not good for you. So if you hate going to the gym every day, it's probably not the strategy for you. You want to find something that you can do to move your body. I mean, moving your body is good we get too sedentary, obviously. We start to, get stiff. But finding something that's joyful to you and that can still give you that physical exertion that your heart maybe needs to work as a muscle to stay strong, and the blood to flow deeper to help you detoxify, and just the endorphins and everything else that go along with that. It's just a nice strategy. You just got to be careful, again, if you're using it therapeutically. Like, I'm going to beat myself into the ground to work off all these calories. You go have one glass of wine and everything you did was just wiped away anyway. So I'd
like to talk about that, because I tell people that. So There's very scientific documentation that long cardio things backfire on you, and the best way to really to work out, if I were to say what I think I think things like yoga and Pilates, you've got strength and stretch and all kinds of things, and also very peaceful to the mind, I think are wonderful. But say somebody wants to lose weight, right? I'm going to say you're going to do weight work, all right, because you're going to burn that glycogen, that liquid sugar out of your muscles, and they're going to want to be replenished. And so it's going to pull the glucose out of your bloodstream. Your insulin resistance is going to be, sensitivity is going to be much better. But then rather than an hour and a half on the treadmill, do the high intensity, low volume exercise, which is cycling on a stationary bike for 30 seconds, and then stop and slow pedal for 60 seconds. Repeat that 6 times. Do it a few times a week. It takes no time at all. And that is a way to do it, because when you do long cardio, you burn more calories at that time, but it trains your body to hold on to fat so you don't, so that you have fat stores for the next time. When you
it's like a survival mechanism.
Yes. So, but when you do it this way, not only what it does is you burn fewer calories during the exercise session, but you continue to burn all around the clock. And the studies validate that also. It's huge for strengthening the mitochondrial energy system. So that's what happens in older people. We make our mitochondria become fewer, far between. They're sloppy, they're less efficient, and that's really important for metabolism. So that is my plan. I have not ordered myself, a stationary bike yet. My husband will roll his eyes because I've ordered different things and then I never use them. I need something.
Clothes rack.
I need something to that I can easily fold up and put under the bed, because we don't have a lot of storage space. But that's something I need to move forward in. I really do have to get some exercise back in my life, but I don't want it to take too much time.
Yeah. I think we get really regimented as Americans, and we feel like we've got the solution and this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it every day. And then you get off track and you don't do it at all. And then you start full force and you do it all the time again. And I think we need to learn how to listen to our bodies more and be fluid. And we have, just the menstrual cycle, for example, after a woman has her, during and at the first week after her menses, she's in the building phase. We're kind of rebuilding our resources, our blood and our yin. And it's probably best not to do a ton of vigorous exercise around that time. But then from ovulation to the start of your menses, you need to get it moving. And so that's much better time to sort of be more active. And then there's times of your life where you're just more run down or stressed on other aspects. I think just kind of listening on a deeper level for what your body needs and honoring that, and knowing that it changes every day.
Yeah.
That's awesome thoughts there, Allison. That's so true. You really gotta, the seasons matter, and going, to diet like what you eat, ideally you're kind of eating seasonally and, letting the natural rhythms, sort of help you along. And, that's a nice thought.
So now getting back to diet, I would like to say, I think the big thing is eat as clean as possible. Try to eat foods that are as pure and as closest to their natural state. So watching for pesticides, herbicides, antibiotics, and hormones in foods, things like that. And
GMOs.
Yes, GMOs, huge. And when I think of that, I think of the pesticides and herbicides. But yes, the genetically modified foods that are, bread is a problem here in our day and age because of the way it's been modified. And it has this constituent that raises blood sugar like a candy bar. And so, but I think if you can get or bake your own bread, like using einkorn flour or something like that. I mean, bread machines will do that. It's super easy. If you can do your own, be careful about your food supply. once in a while if you go out to eat or you order takeout or something, you're not gonna have any control over that, but that's usually not for people the everyday. And I agree with all things in moderation. I could be skinnier if I never ate rice or bread or pasta, but I like rice, bread, and pasta, and I don't really care if I could be skinnier and I'm not. So I'm not obese. I don't have a weight problem, but my weight is more fatty than, throughout most of my life. So it is what it is. You get, okay, I don't really care. Yeah.
I think another big part of it, not so much the calories, but how are you eating? Are you fully digesting your meal, and are you chewing thoroughly? Because that's a big part of breaking down your food, is the saliva in your mouth. And so many of us are just working through our lunch at our desks and eating and watching TV or not really paying attention, and you're not actually digesting stuff. And in an energetic stance, your spleen is more, that energy is going towards more of that thinking pattern. If you're working, it's not spending its energy digesting the food. So I always recommend like eating habits. Eat a lot slower, chew very thoroughly, and take time to prepare your meal as well. Or just be attentive, even if takes a little time to cook on the stove. Just wait and, kind of be focused on it cooking, because that prepares your whole body to digest it too.
Yeah, you're exactly right. That's the hydrochloric acid formation. And that's a big thing too, Allison. Most people don't have enough stomach acid. And if they don't, they're not absorbing your nutrients completely as they should. And not absorbing your nutrients completely has been shown to be a factor in weight gain. It doesn't seem to make sense. It's like, why does that matter that I didn't get my vitamin A or my beta carotene, or that I didn't get that in my food? But that has been documented as well.
I think it has to do with the hormones, and if you can't feed you're basically a chemical factory, and the chemicals are what run your metabolism. If you're not feeding that system, it goes down.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And you're probably more hungry because your body's saying, I'm not getting what I need. So your appetite increases.
Right. Yeah, and then your want for sugar increases too. You want for that, as we started off right at the beginning of this conversation, like you're going to want to go for that, whatever it is, to get you out of the dumps. And I feel better. There's a chemical need there that's being created as we're starving. We're then looking more for the that pick me up. Right?
Yeah, it's kind of like the dilemma of obese yet malnourished yet starving.
Right.
I'm obese, but I'm starving.
Right, nutritionally starving.
Yeah, and I would also like to say appetite. I know we talked about this once before on one of these webinars, but I learned this from an Indian doctor who's also a PhD, but an MD as well, and he was doing a class on weight loss. And he said, think of your appetite on a scale of 0 to 10. So 0 is you are starving. 10 is you could not eat another bite if you tried. He said 2 is your hunger is distracting you. It's getting to be about noon. And you're like, yeah, I'm starting to keep thinking that I'm hungry. 7, he said, is you're satisfied, but you could certainly eat more. And he said, never eat till you're at a 2 and never eat past a 7. And he said, so many people had said to him that this was like the best weight loss advice they ever had. So you look at a newborn is, if you just feed on demand, especially if you breastfeed, which you have no idea how many ounces he just ate, you have just this, I'm hungry, I'm not hungry, I'm hungry, I'm not hungry. And then we thwart that. We not thwart it. We pervert that as we start saying, have one more bite, as we start saying, please eat this, here comes the airplane. Here's this or that. Can you please satisfy me that I feel good that you had enough to eat? And then also, of course, traditional family meal times, everybody's not at a 2 every time you sit down to eat. And so, when you're an adult in a place of life like I am, I can certainly much more manage that kind of thing. But appetite is a signal. And don't eat if you're not hungry. Don't eat just because it's time to eat, or it's just something
Yeah.
to do.
But the problem becomes then when everything gets screwed up and the system's off, and that appetite, that's not a great barometer for everybody, if things aren't working so good.
Right, I hear you.
Attention to what you're craving too, recognizing if it's a healthy craving or if it's a quick fix for you. If you're having a craving, like vegetarians craving for red meat, I think that their body's needing that iron. And maybe they should pay attention to that. I'm not saying they should eat meat, but get that somehow.
Yeah.
And if it's like, oh, I'm just really hungry for a cupcake right now, maybe recognizing that's not coming from a healthy.
Yeah. I tend to be a person. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say there tends to be different strokes for different folks when it comes to strategies of how do you get from where you are to where you want to be, and weight is a typical one. But there's people that are stronger in perception, where meditating on something and getting in that headspace is the way to start, where other people setting up a structure, like a schedule of how you eat or whatever might be helpful. And other people are just doers, all right, I'm gonna just do it, I'm gonna throw everything out, I'm just gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. So I think kind of figuring out how you approach things can help you, because if you approach things in a way that's not a strength for you and you fail, then you tend to just fail, right? As opposed to well, that strategy didn't work, let me try a different strategy. Yeah. So some people it might be cold turkey for something. Other people might be okay, well, it's going to be 20 cigarettes, and it's going to be 19 cigarettes, and then the next week it's going to be 8, and do that kind of a deal.
Yeah. I agree. I think things and also I think of this when I work with my clients is, what kind of a person are you? Because I know the fastest way to get magnesium into your body is to soak your feet with a solution of water and a third of a cup of magnesium chloride liquid, but I will never soak my feet. And I know that about myself right now. I mean, I'm not going to say, oh, that's really a good thing to do, Becky, do it, because I know myself and I will not do it. So you've got to find another alternative. You've got to find another way to do something that fits the individual, because like you said, Jean, you can be all gung ho and, oh yeah, this is great. And then it's I will not do that. So yeah.
Interesting.
There's an article I read a while ago, and I pulled this out this morning, and it's kind of interesting. I can't really speak to it's Dr. Jason Fung. I have no idea who this is. But it's
I do.
Oh, do you? Okay. It's called Controlling the Body's Fat Thermometer.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an interesting study in here. Basically, the gist of it is that we have he calls it a BSW, or it's also called our apostat. And it's basically the thermostat of our metabolism. And the whole article, he talks about why counting calories and just limiting calories is not going to work for weight loss. It never has. And he talks about this study. The clearest demonstration of this was an experiment done by Dr. Rudy Leibel in 1995. In this experiment, he took volunteers and overfed them to make them gain 10% more weight. Then he returned them to their regular weight, and then to 10 to 20% weight loss. And at each point, he measured their basal metabolic rate, or how much energy or calories the body's expending. And at 10% weight gain, the body burned about 500 calories more per day compared to baseline. And as the body returned to its original weight, so did the metabolic rate. And then at 10% weight loss, the body burns about 300 calories per day less. So it's regulating itself. You put on more weight and it burns more calories. You lose less weight and it burns less calories. So yeah.
He's very, that is fascinating. He's very well known for really getting people who are type 2 diabetics totally reversed. using, he's really, I've looked at his stuff. I think I've even talked about it on the radio maybe a couple of years ago, but he's very, 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 very knowledgeable. So I would say that's a good, say the name again, because
Dr. Jason Fung.
yeah, F-U-N-G. Yes, if people are interested, look that up, because that's another one. I had mentioned Radical Metabolism by Anne-Louise Gittleman. Another good thing. There's another book out there called The Obesity Code that I've looked at, and it has a lot to do with fasting, and it has to do with why you did this diet. You did the low carb, you did the Atkins, it worked for you 3 times, and now it no longer works. That kind of thing, things we've been talking about. But what's really exciting is if you do deal in a helpful manner with your excess weight, it's going to, if you do it in a healthy manner, right? It's not like I never eat and I smoke cigarettes all day and, so I lose a lot of weight. If you do it in a healthful manner, it's going to support all other areas of health in a nice way. And we have a guy who's the producer of my radio program for Sunstrom. He doesn't mind because he's talked about this on the air, that I say this, found out maybe 5 months ago, that he was diabetic type 2. And he just took the bull by the horns. He changed his diet. He started going to the gym. He's lost 50 pounds. He's doing some supplements and things that I recommended, but I'm not taking credit for that, because that really would not have done this. Brought his HbA1c, which is a hemoglobin 3-month marker for your blood sugar, your daily blood sugar level, brought his HbA1c down from 11 point something, I think 9, to 5 point something, which is under pre-diabetic area. And he just said, I'm not having this. I'm not doing this. I'm not going to be type 2 diabetic. And so I think that that's a really strong message I always like to give, is that you have so much control. So don't say, oh, now I'm type 2 diabetic, that's it. I'm down the road of type 2 diabetes. No, you're not. No, you're not. Only if you want to stay there.
I think that goes back to the core principle that, most of these things are lifestyle related, the weight, the diabetes, the heart disease, and even the cancers. And no matter where you are, you can always reverse course and start doing things to build your health, regardless of what your symptom is. And weight is a symptom, like many, and it typically doesn't live in a vacuum. There may be the odd person that has, like in an obese state that has no other symptoms, but I very, if ever, see that, there's typically goes along with all of the other things that are happening. Mm-hmm. And the key is just, don't try to treat it as another disease that you're going to try to manage or treat that disease, but like it's an opportunity to say, wow, I really need to get healthy. And that might be how I'm eating, the activity level I have, looking at toxins in my environment, making sure my glandular system is good, making sure I have healthy relationships and stress handling and all those types of things.
And small changes over time are better than radical changes that don't last. So small changes over time. Time goes by really fast. You all know that. I mean, it just does. So if you start doing something today, that's maybe a small change for you. I'm speaking to myself too. In 6 months, you're going to go, wow, this is really different. And so don't be in a hurry. Don't be like, oh my goodness, I have to lose 50 pounds in 2 weeks, because that's not going to happen. And when it doesn't happen, then you get discouraged, and it's like, why am I even bothering, with this?
I also think like that law of attraction thing, is really important when it comes to like goal setting. I always encourage the people that I work with to take those things like, I want to lose weight. I don't want this. I don't want that. I don't want pain. I don't want, fatigue, and change those things around to what is it that you do want, and if you were at your ideal weight, what would that mean for you really? Would it mean that you'd participate more in life? Would it mean that you'd have better relationships? Would it mean you have more energy and to get to your hobbies, and focus on the things that the outcomes. Yeah. And I think it's much more likely to achieve that. If your whole goes, well, I just want to lose weight because that's going to fix my world, it tends to be a failure. right? Because we always go back, we default to it. If we just focus on, hey, if I get myself healthy, and weight would be one of those things, what would that mean for me? What, how would that change my life? How could I contribute more? Would I be more energetic? Could I, volunteer more at my church or my organization? Would I be a better, wife or husband or mother or father or whatever? Like, if you focus on the things that you want to become, then the things like weight, they fall out. You don't, but if you always focus on what you don't want, it's always there right back in your face every time, things get hard.
That was profound. Oh my goodness, that is like so well said, Dr. Jean. Wow.
There you go.
You need to write that up. You need to write that up. I mean, I can't add to that.
That's a great way to close.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you all for whoever's listening for giving us an ear. And, if you need any help from any of us, I don't know. Can people find us on our channel?
Yeah. And you can go to Proactive Health Collective of Keene, Facebook. Jean is at naturalhealth.com, correct?
Yeah.
I'm at wonderfruits.org. And Allison is at
BasicBalanceKeene.com.
Keene.com. So Basic Balance Keene, wonderfruits.org, Natural Health. You can easily find us there. And we appreciate you being with us.
And so we'll be back, what, in 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
Third.
First and third. Right?
First and third Friday. So in the third Friday, we probably will have a guest with us. We know what that is.
Mystery guest at this point. We'll figure that out.
Another mystery guest.
All right, mystery desk, but we'll let you know. It should be fun, and looking forward to it.
Okay. Thanks,
right.
comrades. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody, and see you next time.
Take care.